this time, I would like to call our meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, if you would, roll call.
Good evening, Mayor Newborn,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Langley,
Here.
Commissioner Newell, brother, Commissioner Connor,
Here.
Commissioner Goff,
Here.
and Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Very good.
All present.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. If there's anyone who would like to do public comments, you can come up at this time and sign up. If not, that's fine. Anyone desiring to do that? No? I have a few comments myself. I hope that things go pretty good tonight for us, and I'm not here to keep you long. I do have a respect for your time as well as the board time and everyone else. Glad to be back in the presence of you all, and I want to thank my wife and my family for their support and prayers, and I want to thank the management team of Ayden and all of our employees for their support. I want to thank the citizens for their get well cards, phone calls, and prayers, and I want to give a special thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Langley and our elected officials for keeping Ayden moving in the right direction while I was away. For those who are not aware, I continue to experience some complications from my recent surgery. Some of the complications are not being able to sit or stand for extended periods of time right now, in addition to the effects and side effects I experience from my prescribed medications. I was telling Commissioner Goff I'm not under the influence, but I do have a painkiller in me. Other than that, I would not be in your presence tonight. So please bear with me. So if you see me standing when you think I should not be standing, or sitting when whatever, just bear with me. It's part of my therapy and part of the healing process. As you know, we're in our budgeting process, and we are attempting to make the best recommendations based on our town's current status with the state of North Carolina. Budgeting, as you know, is not an easy process, and no one is going to agree with every decision that's made. Remember, just because someone does not agree with you does not mean that they do not like you. But what it does mean is that they are a citizens of the United States of America, and they have a right to an opinion just like you do. And that applies to all of us. In this case, the people you elected to represent you will make the decisions regarding our budget, along with management and so forth. But we are all imperfect people, like I always say, that sit up here on this board, attempting to do a perfect job, and we believe that working together works. We actually have taken on that, and we believe that, but it only works once we decide to work together. And you can rest assured we are working together for the better good of everyone involved with the town of Ayden, and I thank you for listening to my comments. At this time, I would like to call on the Honorable Commissioner Goff to do the invocation, if you don't mind, ma'am.
Let's all pray, please. Holy and loving God, our great Creator, we give you thanks for the blessings that you provide to us, for our food, our health, and our environment, our friends, our neighbors, and our families. And Father, we pray that your holy presence will be here with us as we do the work of this town. It is a very difficult job, a very difficult way of making decisions to make sure that this town runs successfully. We pray that you bless everyone here. We pray that you bless our staff and those on board, and our citizens as well. For it is in your holy Son, Jesus' name, that we pray. Amen.
I would like for Mayor Pro Tem Langley to lead us. Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Pro Tem. Is there any comments or revisions to the agenda from anyone? Any comments or revisions? Not, I need approval of the agenda as written.
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Langley, and second by Commissioner Conley. Honorable Commissioner. Okay, action items. Looks like our manager. Yes, sir. I'm so sorry. Yes, all in favor of the motion? I got a second. Okay. Any discussions? Excuse me, sir. All right. Setting the structure for downtown Ayden Main Street. Mr. Manager, you would?
Okay, yes, since this is a budgeting, meeting, the finance officer needs to know how the board wishes to structure Main Street because of different structures. There's one structure that will cost, there's one that's not. I don't know about the third one. And we may have to go back if it's, I know you had to make assumptions to get to this far in the budget because we're already overdue to the LGC to have a draft budget into them. So we had to make assumptions, the finance officer had to make assumptions, but nonetheless, y'all vote however y'all see fit and we'll adapt. That would put us at June to do the final business, which by law, we'd have to have it done by June 30th. So anyway, that's what we got. I'm not good at explaining the 2 or 3 different kinds of organization with that. I'm sure Mr. Denham, if he's here, he could explain it again, but it's basically the same thing we've been talking about for months.
So you need Mr. Denham to come up?
Unless y'all already know how y'all want to organize it. And if y'all have any questions for staff or for Mr. Denham.
Any questions? Mr. Denham, first of all, come up, sir. Any questions for Mr. Denham from any members? Wow.
Good.
Hey, Mallory, how do you think this thing should go?
Well, there's really four decisions or 4 management styles. Number 1, keep it as it is where the town controls it. That's probably one of the better ones. It still requires an outlay of cash.
Is your mic on, Mr. Denham?
I have no idea. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. Four main issues or 4 styles of management. Keep it as the town is requires us to probably hire somebody. We talked about some money for grants and so forth. I told them last time that there are no grants we can apply for through the state or the federal government that don't require the applicant to be the town. So that money is null and void in my opinion. The second style is a quasi-deal between the town and a nonprofit. They started to do this back in 2001 when Nina was here, but she never finished all the paperwork, so we don't have any federal credentials. If the town does that, it's going to be an expensive trip because we have to pay an attorney to do that. The third style is for them to take Main Street and run on their own, which is not a bad way of doing it. The only thing it's going to take funds. And the fourth option is to just do away with Main Street altogether. I've really thought this through. If you want my opinion, I'll be glad to do it. It either is that they run with this program on their own and figure out how to fund it. I've talked to Main Street. They'll give them 6 months or so to come up with a plan, to come up with hiring an executive director and their money, or just do away with it. Now, there's a couple comments that said that, well, if we do away with it, Farmville or Winterville will come get it. Look, if they wanted to be a Main Street, they'd already be a Main Street. There's no rule that says you can't have 2 Main Streets in the same county. So, I mean, that's one of those things, but that's kind of how I see it. Looking at how tight the budget is, Yeah, those to me are the only really two true options. To let them run with it and let them self-fund or do away with the program. So, and this is not about me. It supposedly it's been made about me, but it's not about me. It's about Main Street. That's right. That's right.
Support the town and what the people of the town want.
I agree.
That's where we are.
So you went over you kind of went over each one pretty much, but, so I just want your opinion on, because what I've looked at, and based on the nonprofit, city department, quasi-public, private, by looking at how it's made up, what would the quasi-public, private cost the town?
It's still gonna cost you to hire an executive director. If it's quasi,
We would have to have a liaison.
no, you'd have,
Training senior city employee government leadership changes.
if you do the quasi, you'd still have to hire the executive director on the town side. So that's,
And that would be how many hours? 50 hours?
now we're in the full-time range.
Well, the gentleman that was here with you mentioned something about, because we were doing 20 and 20.
We did that between Stephen and I. I'm sure we can come up with that. But do you want to hire a part-time person? That's your choice, obviously. So, I mean, we can make a part-time person work, in my opinion. But it's, again, you're going to have a cost of, if the town hires them, we got to come up with some benefits. If the private organization hires them, all they have to do is pay the director. They don't need benefits.
Now, with the public-private, we were able to basically form a nonprofit.
They could, yes.
Yeah, and also,
We just need a federal ID number.
right.
And that, in order to do that, it's gonna cost.
And we were working on that at one time.
Nina worked on that and didn't follow up with it. She did get the nonprofit status through the state.
When
But
Nina
it-
left, and she was working on that, why, I'm just curious why we didn't continue
Because,
down that road.
because I was told by the manager at that time that we need to keep this program running until they hire somebody new. And that was me for a short period, 4 months. Now it's 3 years
That's
into.
Steve Harrell?
No, that was Matt Livingston.
Matt Livingston.
And now we're into it 3 years, so, and that's fine. I don't have any complaints about that.
So we have no idea on the, because looking at these, I looked at the quasi-public, private, and kind of steered towards that, but we have no idea what that would cost us to do that.
At least a part-time employee plus some benefits. And that depends on, that's gonna depend on a ruling by Liz at the head of the Main Street program, whether we can get by without the benefits for a part-time
And who
employee.
would hire that person? HR or who?
It would be HR and the manager. Yeah, that wouldn't be me.
The finance for the town of Ayden would oversee the money.
I'm sorry.
The town finance department would oversee the funds and handling of the budget for Main Street.
I would assume they change it. I've asked them to take it out of my budget.
Okay. All right. Is that how that would work,
It'll
Scott?
probably be directly reporting to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's been in smaller towns that I've been in.
Have you all settled for a cost for this person, this part-time person?
No. It really hadn't been approached.
Well, that's something we need to look at if the board decides to go that way.
And the decision needs to be done, doesn't it?
No, yeah, I would assume you do. I don't,
So what we could
that
say
would
is
have to
get
come
Marcia-
from you all.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That would have to come from you all. I don't dictate what you do, you know that.
I'm ready to get it done and let's move on.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to start going in directions instead of tabling stuff and waiting this time.
Any other comments from you at this point, Mr. Manager?
No, we might want to get info from the finance officer to see what's budgeted, what's not. If there is more money that we're gonna need, where is it gonna come from? We probably need to know that. You can address it, or I can address it, whatever.
If you come up, Ms. Hall, if you would.
Well, so I've got assumptions built into the fiscal year 26 draft budget that I want to present in a few minutes. So if you wanted to wait to hear that first and then make a decision, just so that you can see where we are, that might be like, because we've worked really hard at getting the budget kind of tweaked. And I'm not trying to persuade anybody anyway, but Right now, our fund balance for general fund, we're not using any fund balance, which I think has been the plug all these years, and we have been working really hard, but there's some assumptions built into the draft budget.
Any comments for Mrs. Aug?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that you, between, say for instance, I know Commissioner Newell mentioned about getting it done, moving ahead.
Right.
Is it possible, by the next board meeting, you could have the numbers together at one, just for example, for the part-time person, we're talking about quasi-public-private, what it would cost the town to have that? Is there any way you could have some numbers?
Yes, if I get clear directions on exactly what you're looking for, hourly, just some type of specific, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but just exactly what you're looking for so that I can have it tight and ready for approval and public hearing in June, because we're up against the deadline.
Something we're gonna have to think about too is to get a person qualified enough to spark something and start something, which obviously Ayden is so big, you're only gonna have so many businesses. You see how many vacant businesses. You see how long we have had professional people run it, and you're only gonna get so much results. To get a miracle worker like that, it's gonna take at least $50,000 a year. It may take $80,000 a year. If you add fringe benefits by law, which we will have to, that could be another 30% on top of that. So, I mean, I don't see, I'm so elated we were able to balance the budget without borrowing into savings, because we're eventually gonna go bankrupt if we keep doing that. And maybe some of y'all can tell us how many years we've been borrowing from the general fund savings before we got to this point. But my point is, the only place that I know that we could get money to fund anything else is go up on the tax rate. And I don't wanna do that, but I work for
Well,
y'all.
as I said a while ago, the town wants to go more, y'all weren't here, but in the past, we had DuPont on this end, Earl's Welcome on this end, industry. People moved here to raise their family. They wanted places for children to ride their bikes, they wanted parks, they wanted activities through the athletic department. That's where we are. From what we've gathered, what I understand, the town is not into industry. They're not into the park, the rail park. They're interested in a place to raise their kids. So if we have to cut budgets from other places, economic development or other places that we need to do this, I believe it needs to be done. We do have vacant buildings down here. There are grants available. Our town is dying on the inside, and we have to do something to support these businesses. And it's to a point we need to make that decision.
I agree with Commissioner Newell, and the town manager. Some of the comments the town manager made are correct. But if we stop and we say we're just gonna stand still and not, just like the fact is, we brought in the economic developer years ago. And the point is to bring economic development to our town. These other organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and the Main Street are ones that really put the information out about our town to local businesses. It's not just the current businesses. It's also reaching out to other and being involved, like networking is what we do. So if we stop networking and we just say, we're not gonna do that because, so eventually everyone that works for this town, we have, 73 or 74 employees? We may even higher than that now.
79.
79. So we are fully staffed. So these employees want their paycheck. They truly do. But eventually, with the cost of running this town with the 79 employees, we're not going to be able to sustain the pay because we have no, other than, we don't have any economic development. We have a lot of things in the works, but we really don't have a lot of things going on. So saying all that, I agree with Commissioner Newell. And actually, we did this years ago. We hadn't had an economic developer in this town forever. We have one now. How long have you been there, Mallard?
About 5.5.
About 5.5 years. So, we got an economic developer, so he's assisting in getting things done. But we need more people out there communicating and bringing people into our town. We really, truly do. And Main Street is not, just like the Chamber of Commerce is for the local businesses, the businesses in town, but also to bring business in town. It's getting the work out and everything. But based on what I've seen, and it may fail, But, I make a motion, that we do, okay, I'm so sorry. No, you can go ahead.
I would like to hear the proposal that, Marcia has, excuse me, I forgot the last name.
Ms. Hall.
All,
Hall, yeah, Ms.
Yeah.
Hall had, I would like to see the budget that she has to present to us without all the extra before we make a decision, because, the downtown is important, each component is important. But I would like to see the whole picture, because it's more than one part to the budget. I would like
Right.
to see the whole budget. And the main thing that you hear people complain about is utilities and potholes. So I want to see the whole budget so that we can address some other areas. No offense to downtown, I work with downtown ever since I have been ever since I've been on this board. So I know, I've been there with Mallory. So I know what he does behind the scene. It might appear that he's not doing anything, but I have been in the scene, behind the scene, things that ordinary people might not know.
Right.
You know, by being there with him, so I know what he does. So I would like to see the whole budget before we vote on one part. Opinion.
how you doing,
Mhm.
Commissioner? Any more comments? I have a comment to make, and then Coach and Manager. Mr. Denham, if you would, could you, you know, I'm going to work this out. I'm trying to figure this thing out, how we could best work this thing out, because I do, and I truly believe in working together works. It appears, and I could be wrong, that I'm kind of hearing kind of one side of the story. I heard the manager say how much he think it would cost. My concern is if the town is going to be into this or into this game, they're going to have to put some skin in the game, but the other party needs to put some skin in the game as well. And if that's the case, how much are we talking about? The other party, y'all can comment if you want to. Well, let me finish. Are you planning on going 50% if the town were to do something, or you just how's this thing? How you propose this thing to work? I need to know that.
So, first of all, I want to clear something up. I sent an email around today about the grant funds that I brought to this town in the last 5.5 years, $2.8 million. It's all in your email.
Hold on, let him finish. Then, excuse me, Mr. Denham and everybody else under the sound of my voice, what we're gonna do, we know we have some issues we need to work out, but we're gonna work them out with respect to one another. So, and I don't wanna keep calling people down, so when whoever's speaking, give them the respect. It's only fair, and it's what it's about, even the board members and stuff. And when we're speaking, vice versa, I feel we can achieve more that way. Go ahead.
I mean,
proceed.
I sent that around today. You know, we got our first big industry coming tomorrow in the rail park, which is a town entity. It is all a part
Okay.
of the town.
With all due respect to you, time out. You can hold that if you would, please. What I wanna know, where we're going now, if we're gonna have two, like, people or two people merging or coming together, what are we bringing to the table? What do they expect the town to bring to the table? We need to know that. It's only fair that we know that.
Well, I can't answer that.
I know, I'm talking to the ladies, they see me talking to them. But I need to know from y'all, if you all are at that point, give us an idea, so we just don't be stumbling in the, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, can we present to you, but I'll just to specifically answer your question.
That's what I need for right now.
With the nonprofit arm, they are able to pursue more grants that the town's not able to, that are for nonprofits specifically.
Okay?
As far as the employee, the way that it works, the town it would have to be a town employee. But we would be working to get, local citizens to donate, private donations and stuff like that to assist us.
We've already secured funding to help in this matter, into programming fees.
The nonprofit.
To pay for the nonprofit, into marketing fees. All that has been secured. We don't have a direction to move forward and the authority to move forward to get the money in hand. And so we're waiting for that authority to actively pursue bigger funds.
Okay, so my bottom line is, like I said, I wanna know who's putting skin into the game. This thing could work. I mean, I know that, we all know that. But we want to be fair to each other. And I don't want it to be perceived that Ayden is funding everything and you guys are not. That's why it's always good to have conversation, so we can get things out in the open. Then we can deal with it more objectively. Yes, sir. Now, you said something about some information or something. Now that you guys have answered my question, since you've been here, what you had brought?
$2.8 million in grants for downtown and for the town.
Okay.
I sent an email out today to everybody to show you exactly where they came from, where they went. Let's talk about companies, Simple and Sentimental. I brought them to town. Let's talk about the Carroll World. I worked diligently with Lenore Community College, who owned the building, to find a way to get a program in there because of the deed restrictions. That worked out perfectly. Caraway Office Equipment. I mean, there's so many, and there are a couple other small businesses here that I brought in that have gone. And I brokered several of the building, facilitating, putting the owners and the sales together and the renters together. I mean, I've done all that. I think I sent you an email about the empty buildings this morning
Who's that?
that you
I
requested.
And I apologize,
Okay.
I
So-
work, and so I don't get on my email as quick as everyone else. But I have to ask you a question, since you mentioned Carroll World. Now, that building is still owned by them,
Still owned by they don't own,
and
they don't own the
they don't
building.
pay us any property
But,
tax on that building, right?
I think our bookkeeper will tell us that they've been very generous with the town and how they've saved us money.
How they saved?
About Carroll World and saving us money on the coppers and things like that. They've been a plus. There are 12 people employed. No, Carroll, the copy.
Oh, I thought I misunderstood. I thought you said Carroll. I was like, what? Wait a minute. Yeah, they've been very,
Yeah, so,
But she, y'all heard each other.
you want to stand up and
Are you
tell
talking
them?
about the Caraway contract?
No, sir, no, ma'am. Mr. Mallory here mentioned that, Carroll World,
I'm sorry, it's Caraway out here, the copier company, that saved us a lot of additional money on our copies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I thought you
Well-
said Carroll World.
Well, I'm sorry.
I was like, wait a minute.
And, they hire
Hold
like
on.
28 people.
So hold on. This is what I
Yeah,
think
it's
I'm
moving
hearing.
away from,
Yes, sir. This is what I think I'm hearing. Is that you have documentation
Yeah.
which would be justification for what you brought to this town. Is that correct?
yeah.
Okay.
When you start talking about taking from my budget,
I got you.
yeah,
I got you.
I'm gonna stand up.
Okay, right, and you're supposed to, but hold on, let's hold that. Let's deal with where we are right now about who we need to hire. And we can get that because I think this is what you're talking about, that you gave all of us to take a look at.
Can I say something about that?
Wait a minute, is this what you're referring to, right? Yes, sir.
I think so. I sent a
Okay.
new one out
Yeah,
today.
your eyes are, okay. Yeah, this is a quick look at downtown Ayden buildings, and what's been contributed.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, let's hold it, let's deal with one issue at a time.
Okay.
Because it sounds like we're clashing here. You agree with that, Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're gonna get that straightened out. Mr. Newell, if you would.
I do want to clear up one thing, and I hadn't heard from you on this. The tree grant, is this the one from the Forestry Service?
Yes, the big
that I
one,
brought to your attention?
the big one. And
Right.
we're waiting,
No, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. We wanna deal with the quasi-public-private piece and how we're gonna feel that. So we can get, if we have to move it back to later on this evening, we need to get on top of that. We're not on top of that.
Right.
That's that we're still juggling with that. So if you guys have some information that the board doesn't have to help us out to get a clearer picture, that's what we need to do for right now. That's what I'm asking for, so we can move forward.
it's all about dollars, is that right?
Sir?
All about the money, it sounds.
That's what I'm trying to
Okay.
figure out, and what you were saying, they're gonna bring some things to the table. We all need to know what's
I
gonna be
agree.
brought to the table, so it won't be a lopsided venture.
I agree.
We'll get along better. Any
We have
comments?
a presentation.
How long is it?
prepared. Quick, it's very quick.
About 3 minutes or so?
Yes,
Okay.
Regarding,
yes.
okay, are you good, Mr.
Yeah,
Dunn?
one thing I want to say, if you go with the quasi-town thing,
Yes, sir.
the town board from here on out needs to appoint the members on Main Street and not let everybody in. So it ought to end up like the planning board, et cetera.
Well, I've been on it, and there was 3 of us since it switched over where you decided that you want to be a part of it anymore. I've been a part of it, the mayor's been a part of it, and these ladies have been a part of it, and we kept it going. And we hadn't received much information. There's some other stuff going on I'm not gonna talk about, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, hold that right now, and Mr. Dunham, if you would, hold on to
All
what you
right,
have.
I'll turn it over.
We're gonna give you guys 3 minutes, just like you requested, and hopefully we can pull this thing together. See where we're headed.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you.
I did want to start on that. When we joined, we all were asked by different members of the previous board to join, and we showed up and were voted in by the previous board. So we're here tonight not just to talk about preserving our Main Street designation, but to ask for your support in expanding it, strengthening it, and giving it the structure and leadership it needs to truly work for our town. We're proposing an important next step to transition to a quasi-public-private model. This is not a drastic change. It's a smart, strategic one. It allows us to keep town involvement and oversight while also creating a nonprofit arm that opens us up to a much wider range of funding, opportunities, grants, and partnerships. This hybrid model has been proven effective in towns across North Carolina. The majority of North Carolina Main Street towns are structured this way. It empowers us to become more agile, more creative, and more proactive in revitalizing our downtown. It's how small towns get big things done. Structure alone isn't enough. To make this work, we also need to fund a full-time Main Street director, someone who can focus 100% on building downtown vitality day in and day out. Without that dedicated leadership, we're working with half the tools. And unfortunately, we've already felt the cost of that gap. At the last meeting, when we came and spoke, Susan advised the board of a potential $850,000 grant, a grant that could have renovated this very building we're sitting in tonight. Following that, Mallory and Chuck also came to speak about it, but the painful truth is we missed the window to apply. Not because no one cared, not because it wasn't a priority. We missed it because we didn't have the structure or support in place to respond quickly and effectively. And our town can't afford to keep missing out on opportunities like that.
Ms. Fulton, if you would.
Hello, yes, sir. The good news, we're not just standing around waiting for change. We're actively building on it. With the assistance or guidance and oversight of our town liaison, our Main Street Board is growing and engaged. We've already recruited a dynamic, committed group of community members to support this next phase, each bringing energy, expertise, and a passion for downtown. We've begun the four-point approach, starting with data collection, so we can base decisions on facts, not guesses, and pursue opportunities that make a real impact on the quality of our life. And most importantly, we've been listening. Between the land use survey and conversations in our local our Facebook groups, we've heard the same things again and again. People want to preserve the charm and the character of this small town life. They want more green spaces. They want more local shops. They want walkability. They want gathering spaces and a downtown that feels alive again. That's exactly what the Main Street program is designed to support when it's given the right structure and leadership.
Thanks to AI and evolving technology, a full-time Main Street director would not just be coordinating events or writing newsletters. As Mallory shared at our last presentation, or his last presentation, grant writing has changed. With today's tools, a smart, tech-savvy director can write and manage most grants in-house, not just for business development, but also for arts programming, recreation, green infrastructure, streetscape enhancements, and even capital projects like town hall renovations. This is no longer about dreaming big, it's about being prepared to act when the opportunity comes, because opportunities are out there. And our citizens have told us exactly what they want, we just need to be ready to go after it. So tonight we are, to repeat, asking the board to do two things: approve Main Street to be a quasi-public-private entity, which will create a nonprofit arm to make the Main Street program more flexible and more competitive. Fund a full-time Main Street director, someone who can turn community goals into tangible progress. So let's not let another year go by hoping for change. Let's build the structure that can make that happen. Let's invest in that leadership, and let's show our citizens that we not only hear what they want, but we're ready to deliver it. Turning it back over to Sarah for a second.
No, wait a minute now. Just a minute, hold up.
I was going to respond to some statements that you've made prior to this.
What statement you got?
In regards to turning it into, or funding the full-time person and board and structure, nonprofit, quasi, I was going to make a statement about that. That bylaws are already in place. The structure has already been set up to move forward. If we begin as a quasi-public-private entity, we're already starting the process to separate from town funding.
Yeah.
We're already starting the process to look elsewhere to fund this program. If it's sent directly nonprofit, you're handing a leftover program at the blink of an eye to have to come up with the money for this program to survive.
Okay, thank you. I think I know where you guys are, and I kind of think I know where we're heading now. I don't know whether the board is on the same page that I am. If you all have any comments, let me hear them now. I think what it's going to boil down to is whether or not we are going to be able to afford what you guys are asking. Therefore, just like Commissioner Connor suggested, we'll wait until Finance Officer Hall does her thing, and we'll go from there. Hopefully, we can reach some kind of decision tonight, because this thing need to. Yeah. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Anything from the board on it?
I just have one comment.
Yes, sir.
When we had our fellow here, Miss Nina, the town was offsetting the cost of that. Some of the cost was coming from the fellowship that she had, but the town we were funding that. I don't know if the board, if those that weren't on the board at the time, so we were funding that at the time, part of the salary for the fellow, if I'm not mistaken. But we were also getting money for her from the fellowship that she had with the town. So we did have an expense before for that. I just want to put that out
Okay.
there. Thank you.
Thanks for that information. Commissioner Newell, you have any input at this point? You good? Commissioner Connor?
Like I said, I just want to wait.
Just want to wait. Okay, I agree with that. Coach, Commissioner Davis, actually. Commissioner, everybody's good. Okay. Mr. Manager, you have any further comments?
No, sir.
Okay. The action requested, it doesn't have any actions listed here. Any input, Mr. Clerk? As far as us proceeding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. So, Ms. Ms. Hall, I tend to think that, I'm not calling you up now, I'm just making a comment to you, that you kind of got your hands full, because we're gonna want some good stuff for you to put on the table when we get there. Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay. Next, public hearing for solid waste services contract. Mr. Manager, if you would.
We put that on there. One of the board members had asked about setting a public hearing. We could have that public hearing in June, but y'all would need to vote to set that date if indeed you wanted to have the public hearing about the solid waste service contract.
Any comments from the board regarding statements made by Mr. Manager?
I would like to make a motion to go ahead
Go ahead and.
and pass it instead of going to a hearing.
I'll second that.
So you made the motion, Commissioner Newell, the motion seconded by Commissioner Goff. Any discussion on the motion?
Well, I kind of like for the public to have a chance to, 'cause if people don't read and they don't know, and if we go ahead and pass a contract, we'll get a lot of calls and a lot of people say they don't know. So it's just me.
Okay, any further comments?
Yes. I am the one that, the manager mentioned that one of the board members requested, I requested in the fact that in our April meeting, I requested, after we had the presentation, but it didn't get put on our agenda for May to have a public hearing. So then in May, I talked to the manager and I said, I want to have a public hearing for the outsourcing to GFL on sanitation. So, I did get an email stating that we did not vote on that, so that's why we're here tonight. I believe in full transparency on everything we do on this board. I believe whether we choose to do it or whether it's the right thing to do, that's fine. If it's the right thing to do, we outsource to GFL, then that's what we do. But the bottom line is we need the citizens of this town to be informed, especially something as major as sanitation. And I do understand the monetary issue, and the biggest thing on our sanitation department is it's keeping employees on our sanitation department, as well as taking care of our equipment and having to replace our equipment so often that it's requiring our budget to really get money taken away from. So I'm not against, it's not that I'm against GFL, nothing to do with that. Outsourcing is not that I'm against it. I'm not saying I'm voting for or against. I'm just saying I want the public's input on that. So that's the reason I requested a public hearing. And I was told we do need to vote on it in order to have a public hearing. Thank you.
And the only reason I filed the motion is because where we are in the time frame of the budget and what we need to do with sanitation, I just feel like that we really don't have a choice with the trucks we have, the staff we need, transferring them over to the street department. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I was trying to get it done and move forward. And Stephen, can you enlighten us on some of that?
Yeah, anything specific, I mean, any particular
Just
parts
kinda show
of
what
that?
we want to do as far as what the cost savings will be, where we will be at, and what we can do with fundage as far as the labor we're going to transfer from sanitation.
Yeah, and
to the street
I'll say
department.
up front outright, there's probably not a true cost savings, there's just a cost reallocation from the sanitation department to the street department to allow us to build out a full-time grass crew, you know, to maintain a lot of the stuff that we have to maintain in town, as well as creating a full-time, full-service road repair, drainage repair, stormwater repair crew.
And that would address the potholes.
And that would help us, because right now I've got 3 of my street guys on the sanitation truck. So, you know, that limits the work that we're able to do right now.
And you've lost 2, is that right?
Yeah, we'll end up with, I think we currently have 3 vacancies now
Okay.
that we're kind of sitting on just to get through this budget year, but, you know, that's a hard job to fill. You know, the turnover on the back of that truck, a lot of guys, they'll start on it and hope that they move, you know, up the ranks into the street department. Most of the time that doesn't work. You won't find a guy that makes his career on the back of that truck. That's not an enjoyable place. Those guys are probably some of the hardest workers that we have, riding around on that truck all day grabbing trash. But again, you know, the ultimate plan is to continue to provide trash service. Yes, it will be through a private contractor, but they will still be working for us. You know, nothing there changes except they're the ones picking up, not us. You know, we're still billing, we're still taking complaints, you know, we're relaying them to them instead of our guys. But again, it gives us the opportunity inside our current fee structure and the fees that we charge for sanitation to move more employees into the street department to be able to provide more services townwide.
Our trucks are outdated, we've had issues with them going down, and we still have to go out and contract sanitation.
Correct, and that's the thing, that equipment, you know, it doesn't go far, it doesn't drive fast, but the weight that those trucks, you know, when they're full, you know, they're 25-ton trucks. You know, just the weight is what increases the wear and tear on those garbage vehicles. It's not just, you know, you would say, oh, it's only 6 years old. Yeah, but it's probably, you know, probably feels like it's 12 or 15 years old just because, you know, we go through tires, you know, there's all kinds of things that go wrong. You know, there's hydraulics, there's all of those things are intertwined.
And the fact that we have people riding on the back of these trucks at 40 miles an hour, that also affects our insurance rate as well.
Correct.
And what's the new automated truck, about 700,000?
700,000 on the low end. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sure.
Steve, I have a
Any
question.
other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Hold on a second, Mayor Pro Tem, if you would. The manager, you wanted to weigh in, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I was just gonna give you some numbers as far as the savings. Like, for example, this year, we've spent over 22,000 hiring other companies to get our trash when our trucks were broke. And we plan on selling those trucks, which that should be about 150,000. Plus, we have, I think we spent $11,660 in diesel fuel for the garbage service. So those are all big savings. The maintenance and repair, we'll probably save, can't remember, anywhere from 20 to 40,000 on repairs because the trucks is down. So, yeah, there is, the mowing contract, right now it's 90,000. Our plan is, and Stephen actually suggested this, we're able to cut that down to 45,000 because we'll be able to mow more stuff ourselves.
Keep it in-house.
Yeah, and the good thing is, Stephen tells me we've already got the mowers and the weed eaters.
We just need people.
So yeah, whatever's left, I think they're about all gone again from sanitation, but yes, we could move that money, that position into streets and address, more, like you said, more visible problems. And it's like anything that when people specialize, that garbage company, that's what they do. And they don't have the limitations government does. They have a stable of employees and trucks, and they can just do it cheaper than we can.
Mayor Pro Tem.
What are your plans on, with GFL being contracted, they have a truck that pulls an arm out, they have one driver on the truck, picks up the green bins and dumps the trucks. What is your plan on the trash downtown, all of our trash cans? How is the trash going to be picked
You
up?
talking about the stationary bins? The
ones we have
decorative,
downtown.
the decorative bins that match the bench, the one like in front of your shop, for instance.
I don't have one.
Or-
The one in front of Andy's and stuff like that?
Yeah,
on the
any of-
highway,
yeah, I
you
mean-
have the big metal thing
correct.
that's got the insert?
Yeah, the
What's
street,
your plan on that?
the street department will continue to empty those as they do now.
Okay, so they're gonna use a flatbed truck or something?
Or
to empty the
one of the
trash?
Kubotas or the side-by-side, or, yeah, I mean, that's standard practice. So, yeah, they will continue to do that.
Okay, so, yeah,
Go ahead.
okay. So, years ago, I talked about, the precision lawn, contract that we had for 90,000 at that time. About, us buying a piece, a grass cutting thing, something grass cutting, and hiring 2 other people to handle the contract. I was just told that you do have the equipment to cut grass, and you can cut the contract in half by 45,000, correct?
Correct. That's
Why
the,
can't we cut the entire contract?
again, it'll come down to personnel. A lot of that contract goes into the back half of the district park, which will take more than just an actual lawnmower. And the cemeteries, which they run, when they do the cemetery work for us, they're probably running, I don't know, there might be 10 or 15 guys in that cemetery because it takes so long. If we did it with a 4-man crew, it might be a 2.5 day between, so there's different variations on why 2 guys can't.
I actually had the contract on both those cemeteries. This one down here, the primary deal with that cemetery, you might do maybe 1/8 of it mowing, and everything else you have to weed eat.
Yep.
Because of the roads and the curvings and how the stones are, there's no way you can get a mower to them.
Yep.
And it's time consuming and labor consuming.
Yep.
Okay, and you said that the 3 people right now from streets are doing sanitation.
Correct. There is.
So we don't have a sanitation, anyone?
There
that's-
is one current employee in sanitation. Everybody else is a street department employee right now. We have 3 vacancies in between streets and sanitation right now.
When people apply for those positions, are they interviewed by HR or by the director?
All. So I'm involved, Tony's involved, and then Joe Warren as the superintendent is involved.
And have they explained, pardon me, when they were doing the job, because you had such a high turnover, was it explained out to them?
The very first thing we talk about is the work and it being in the elements, and are you okay with that? That's the very first thing we ask each interviewee, because they're gonna work whether it's freezing, if it's raining, they work in all the elements, so they're made aware up front.
Thanks so much.
Any other questions?
Mr. Hardy, you had something to say?
Yeah, as a safety officer, on the garbage, my feeling is, contracted out too, because people don't understand that's a safety sensitive thing, and the accidents and the workman's comp claims on that truck is probably be shocking to y'all if you really found out how much they were. Probably 85% of our claims is either accidents on the truck or incidents to the people on the truck. And I mean, it's proven, we got records of it. I mean, so to me, it would seem better to turn that over to somebody else and keep that liability off the town, especially safety. And Tony can show a comment on that with me, because me and her work together on it.
You would like to say
Do you
something?
want my comment on that? From an HR perspective, I also agree, because we are constantly just recycling people into that role.
Okay.
And the interview process is pretty lengthy, and it is in great detail what the job entails, what is expected. The uniforms are provided, and most of these people that are applying have worked in landscaping or have done, are not new to what the job is, but for whatever reason, they look forward to trying to get into streets or trying to do something else, and then it's too hot or it's raining, and then they don't want to do it anymore. And then there's also, the caliber of the people that are wanting to work in that job or not wanting to work in the job. We've noticed a lot of employees not taking the responsibility that's necessary to care for the people or the equipment, and it's costing us a lot of money. That's what I've found out in this past year, is that small section is costing us a ton of money, and then also time and money in trying to replace the people constantly.
Okay, great information coming from everybody. Yes, ma'am, hold on one second. Great information, we appreciate this, but I think it's appropriate to set a public hearing for the time that,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
sorry to interrupt. You still have a motion and a second before the board for a motion to pass.
Okay.
So we would still need to vote on that motion before we move on to any other activity.
Okay. Who made the motion? Commissioner Newell and Commissioner Goff. All right, very good. Any discussion on the motion?
I have one more comment as far as the savings portion of that.
You have some numbers?
It's that in last year's budget meeting, and we were discussing the cost for sanitation, and we went from $15 to $16, I believe. And the discussion was that if we continue with the cost, we were gonna have to increase sanitation charges again to anywhere between $25 and $30 per month, because we couldn't afford to continue at the rate that we have now. So that was another
Very good.
cost savings to our citizens,
Gotcha.
as well as for our town.
Any further discussion?
I don't have any problem with the contract. I just would like the citizen, like I said, people do not read. And I would hate to pass something and they would say they didn't know about it. I know it's their responsibility to read. So I have no problem with the contract, and I understand the saving and all of that. I'm just looking out for the citizens.
Okay. Any other input?
Will the actual fee go down for sanitation?
It'll stay the same.
It'll stay the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll stay the same. All right, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? One in opposition? Two in
Like
opposition?
I said, I would like for the citizen, before I make my vote, I would just want to be sure the citizen understood.
So to be clear, was that a vote of 4-1?
No, sir. 3 to 2.
3-2.
Yeah. 3 in favor of, 2 in opposition.
And if you could confirm for me who the opposition was?
The opposition was Commissioner Connor and Mayor Pro Tem Langley.
Okay, thank you.
We good?
Yes, sir.
All right. So where we are now, we need to set the public hearing. I think people need to be notified about this. And I understood what you were saying, Mayor Pro Tem, about what you tried to get done.
I think the vote was just to approve it. It's already approved, you have no public
Yeah, I
hearing.
don't see any need to
No
have a
need?
public hearing.
No, we
To me, I
already
don't
approved
see
it,
any.
yeah.
We have a public hearing for the budget, but it's already
But that's a separate issue.
Separate
advertised.
issue, yeah.
We've already got that covered, yeah.
Okay. Like I told you guys, bear with me. It's one of those nights. All right,
All ready?
we're ready.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna switch it up just a little bit. In your packet, so after every audit, we have to address any indicators of concerns. And one of that is that something we have to send back to the LGC, and that is to increase the general fund balance, which Some of these may not be very, very, what can I say?
Just say it.
Popular, but we're going to go through it. But some of these you will find, I want to just go through it so that you know that when we put this budget together, and I really appreciate that you all just approved that because that just made my life a little tiny bit easier. But so we need to increase. Right now we have 8.33% of fund balance to cover, and sizes like us, we needed to be a lot more efficient in the fund balance. General fund is very limited on revenues, although, you know, we do have a tax base that's increasing. We do have a lot of costs. Some of our departments get reimbursable of services from the enterprise accounts, but some of them do not. So the number one proposed path to increase the general fund balance was enter into a sanitation contract ASAP. Number two is sell existing 2 garbage trucks. Number 3, surplus all police cars when the new ones arrive. Number 4, request ABC funding from Pitt County Board of Commissioners. Number 5, special leverage tax, vehicle fire. We're inquired with the tax office about that, and we've also inquired with the LGC and the league, and I've got to get some more information about that. Unpopular, but number 6, raise property tax. Number 7, phase reclaiming property, reselling for money owed. This will be a multi-year project. I've already talked to Mr. Caraway about how we can move as a town and phase this. There'll be some cost about it, but we do have a lot of heirs properties that the town is maintaining and keeping up. That's a cost to the town. It will be a costly project, and legally we would have to do a lot of probably research for those heirs. We have been very busy in recording liens. That has been probably with all the vacancies through town hall for the past years. I know I've brought it up with code enforcement, but just today I just got a phone call before I came in from a realtor that would like to discuss possibly working out something. The lien on the property is almost $10,000. The property is not worth that much. So I've got to figure out with Mr. Caraway legality what the town can do to get some of these properties back in some of the neighborhoods.
How many properties do we have in town now that the town actually owns that are vacant?
The town,
Yes, it's in the town's possession.
most of them went to, Ms. Bowers, help me out here, Mr. Mayor. Plant Homes. A lot of them went to Plant Homes. Right now, we probably got 5,
But
4
the
or
property
5
owned.
that the town owns. Now, what we take care of is about 47.
Yeah.
So that's our property.
Yes.
What can we do to get rid of the 5 that we have?
Put them on the market.
And sir, I'm glad you brought that up. I'd actually mentioned that to the mayor several months ago. And the plan, as soon as we get through with this budget season, then we start that, you know, and you've got to advertise them for so long, and y'all got to pick which kind of sale y'all want. But I think it's a great thing, if for no other reason, to get rid of the liability. So, just like the old town hall, I don't think it's safe. Is it condemned?
As far as I'm concerned, the only part being used is the Christian Center. The rest of it is non-usable because it will not meet fire code. The fire thing in the back is very unsafe, so that is a no use from,
Yeah, and we pay a lot of insurance on that stuff, so and then we'll get to that, and if y'all are ready for that after budget season, I hope we can really move quickly on that.
We have actually had 2 families that have inquired about giving the property back to the town, which I'll need Mr. Caraway to help us with the legalities of that. This is kind of over my, and there's not a lot of help outside of asking him, you know, the situation. But it is costly, and we just want to get a path, what we can do. But that's 2 properties that, as long as we can have some type of system in place, because a lot of the liens are very costly to the town. And then probably 8th, the vacancy tax for all empty commercial buildings. I know that's not a popular subject, but that would be something that the general fund could benefit from the code enforcement fund. So, but Jeremy, do you mind helping me? some of this stuff that you have already seen, I've cut some of the slides out, but we worked really hard. I appreciate the department heads working with me today. We were just, what you had in the agenda packet, it changed before, so what you have in front of you is the hottest, latest. And I'll get Jeremy to send that back out. But, so currently, the general fund, the fiscal year 26 draft budget amount is $6,829,282. At this time, there is no increase in property tax, which remains at .0054. The draft budget has a fund balance contributing of $0. Very happy about that. So the assumptions built in this budget is that there is no increase in fees for the general fund services. There are no full-time positions created. It does not include part-time positions at the library. There is no merit pay. There is no local donations. The sanitation contract approved and implemented. The trash trucks are sold along with the police cards that are being replaced, and we are estimating a $200,000 profit. It does include the capital improvement project of the fire department receiving their door key code, which is split with the rural, at approximately $5,000. We did have to increase by 1% the electric reimbursable of services to the 14 departments, not 14, sorry, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 departments that receive reimbursable of services. This is less than what we used last year. We are trying to decrease our dependency with the general fund off of the enterprise accounts. As you look forward, right now the electric 46%, it's $984,000 roughly. Water and sewer, $428,000. Stormwater, 1%, for a total of $1.4 million that your enterprise account are reimbursing your general fund departments that are allowable. The general fund departments that get reimbursable services are departments that do support the enterprise accounts: HR, finance, administration, you all, IT, central garage, and public buildings, and economic development. We did decrease the transfer of funds. In addition to reimbursable services, the electric fund can transfer to the general fund by general statute, but for the past few years, the town has overextended that amount, and that has been an audit finding. So we have backed off of that transfers for a total of $600,000. The fringe benefits, we received 5 quotes from 5 different insurance companies. We were able to have a decrease for insurance. The retirement did increase, which is state mandated, the 14.35%, and the law enforcement 16.08%. And the budget also includes the personnel policy for certifications in departments that are part of the personnel plan. As you will see, this is the final evaluation estimate for the fiscal year. If you do a 1-cent tax increase, it generates around $46,000. Again, there's no tax increase at this moment. That's just a breakdown. We were able to claim 99% collection rate based off the audit findings, which is good because the previous year we could only claim 97% of the property taxes. So in general fund summary, the proposed fiscal year funding, general fund is $6.8 million. Fund balance needed is 0, and it's only a 1.88% increase from fiscal year 25. Just to reiterate, according to the fiscal year 24, our general fund unassigned fund balance was at $1.3 million, which is 21%. Minimum threshold should be 34%, and average for our units like Ayden should be 64%. Hence the path to increase our general fund balance that we just discussed. Again, general fund revenues, we have very limited options for revenues. We did reduce the electric transfer because of audit findings. We have no open spots in our cemeteries. The only funding we get from our cemeteries are the opening, closing, and the monument permit fees. We are expecting a decrease in our community building rentals due to the fact that insurance is required. And we did receive a $50,000 grant from the League of Municipalities because the finance team and town manager attended the AIM program. Moving on to our enterprise accounts, which are the electric, water, sewer, and stormwater. Overall budget for the electric is roughly $15,394,490. That includes a CIP of $670,000 for a line truck replacement, a tractor, and transmission line pole changeouts. They are requesting 2 positions, reimbursable services to the general fund. It's $984,968, and they are going to be using their fund balance of $412,000 to balance their budget. Mainly that covers some of their CIP requests. There is no residential rate increase for fiscal year 26 for the electric fund. I want to warn you that we will need to do another study to prepare for the likely increase of future rate increases in the near future. We have been told by electric cities that the increase, the lack of dependency on coal is going to affect the rates that are coming down the pipeline. We are in a very good position due to the riders that we have put in place. We are expecting another rider in the fall of 2025, which I will come back to you and adjust the PCA. That will be passed on. If it's passed on to Ayden, it's passed on to the customer. Adjusting the base rate, I don't think is fair to the customer, because at least when the riders fall off, that amount can be adjusted. So it's in and out. We are asking you to approve the time of use pilot program, which is totally voluntary. This is a way we've heard the citizens. They will have their input. It's just a voluntary program. We just want to see if we can do it. That would be if you decide to use consumption at high peak rates, you will be charged a higher peak rate. It's totally voluntary. We just need to make sure that our modules, our meters, and our system can support it. That is the new future way of electric. Water and sewer. Total overall budget is $4.2 million. We do have approximately 5 grants ongoing. The debt is substantial at a little over $7 million. Our contracts with News Water, there was no increase. CMSD is a slight increase, which is put in the budget. We are asking for 1 full-time position. For that would be an admin ops position. And the CIP total request is $156,000, $156,500. He needs a push camera, a mini excavator, the fire hydrants, a mower, a manhole repair on Dalton Street, and some upgrade sewer SCADA. So UNC Environmental Finance Center has studied our rates. She presented in March and in May. She recommended a 4% increase at a minimum to sustain your water enterprise account. Currently, we will need $53,000 needed from the water fund balance to offset this fiscal year's budget. Stormwater fund. Currently, the fee generates $163,000. We are asking for an increase for residential from $4 to $5, and from non-residential $15 to $20. This will generate around $23,603 per year. So that is what I have at the moment. Do I have any questions? I just want to remind you that we have to have a public hearing and adopt the budget at the next board meeting on June the 9th to meet the threshold.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Hall?
You said no new position no part-time position for the library. The ones that we have, we're keeping, are you kidding?
Correct. We there's a 1 full-time and a part-time. There was a request to honor the next second, to bring that back. That was actually an established part-time position. Yes, ma'am. But right now, we didn't bring it back at this moment.
Just wanted to be sure you're not doing.
Yes, sir.
I would, since you're going through the budget, I would like to make a request that the Board of Commissioners and Mayor receives included in that budget pay raise.
A pay raise? Okay. I just need the board to let me know if that's what they want me to add and how much.
Is that a motion, Coach?
I would like to make a
Commissioner
motion.
Davis, is there a second on the floor?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? No discussion?
Now, can I
Sir?
say something, please?
Yes, sir.
Primarily, the reason for this is, don't our employees usually get a raise every year?
The cost of living, we usually use a Southern CPI, and it is included, cost of living in this, yes, sir, at 3%.
Now, I've been on this board for 8 years. You know how many raises I've gotten? 1. So why I'm asking for it now, I don't think it's too far out of order. Right now, the board members and commissioners, $600 a month. I'd like to make a request that we go to $800 a month. The mayor, I think the mayor makes what, 7?
That's correct.
And the work that he had to do, we like to put him at $1,000 a month. I'm just making this known, so maybe we can do it.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anyone? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the motion?
No.
4 in favor, Mr. Clerk, and 1 in opposition.
And
Which was Mrs.
I would like to say something. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Do you have that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're good on that.
Go ahead.
I would like to say something. I call around the different municipalities, the amount of phone calls, the amount of emails, the amount of time that this consumes is unreal. You will not know. Calls at 10:30 at night. And I agree with Coach, because the town is not where it used to be. The amount of development, the amount of infrastructure, the amount of issues we have, it's nonstop. There's many days I wonder why I even stepped in this position. So I appreciate you, Coach.
I usually keep my phone off about half the day. Really, you know, I mean, you might think we just meet once a month here, but hey, just like Brian says, and it's, you need more than one raise in 8 years. I'll leave it at that.
Any, so we're good, Mr. Clerk, with that?
I am,
Up to
yes,
this
sir.
point. Any further questions or comments for Mrs. Hall? Any additions or subtractions to the budget as it's written?
I just have a couple of questions, Ms. Hall, and you may not, and this may be something I can get with you on this. I just have a question on some of the things here. Now, we had discussed Chamber of Commerce for fiscal year 25. Did the board approve that payment to the Chamber of Commerce in May? We did not?
It was tabled.
It was tabled?
If I remember
He has
correctly.
Some information for you.
Yeah, I tried to get a consensus for a month or two, and I couldn't get a majority of votes. So it's still out there. It'd be nice if we could settle it now. The background from what I hear from staff is, and y'all would remember this too, last year it was agreed that, or the year before, whatever, that you should give 19 to help fund pay director's salary. Okay, that director never came, so it was mentioned, hey, you know, the other end, you know, didn't satisfy the arrangement, so it was mentioned, hey, prorate it, give them some. Some said, 1 or 2 said 0, 1 or 2 said prorate, but didn't give me a number. But I never got a majority. So if we could settle that tonight, it'd be great.
Well, I was looking at 18.5 from fiscal year 25, and that's why I asked, was that ever paid? Because it was approved prior. So
It's not been paid.
yeah, so that was voted on in last year's budget, right?
Correct.
So why do we need to discuss paying that if we voted on it and approved it last year?
Because, well, to be honest with you, like you said, they didn't have a director. They did send the
They have an
invoice.
interim director. They've always had someone in charge. My point is, if the board approved it in the budget last year,
Right.
why wasn't the payment made, is what I'm asking.
I can answer.
Okay.
Because when I I believe when I got that invoice, or maybe it was a meeting about the invoice, I came in and somebody on the board was there. And they mentioned, hey, they shouldn't get all of it, maybe prorated or whatever. So that put me in a position, and of course, that's not my call to make.
I understand, sir, and what I'm saying is, and I do understand your comment, but what I'm saying is, when the board votes on something, unless we appeal that through the board, you follow the board on what we said. Someone makes a comment, doesn't negate what the board voted on. So that's the reason I asked, has it been paid? So
It's not been paid.
Finance, or the town has not followed the board vote on the last fiscal year 25 for Chamber of Commerce. I understand what you're saying, you were told, whatever, so I
Well,
just want to clarify.
there's been a lot of dialogue about this, so,
Right.
I mean, if I had paid them, I feel like I would probably be breaking, the thread of all the
I'm just
information.
curious how we pick what we pay and what we don't pay. When the budget is approved, we're approving the funds. Okay, so let's move past that. So right now, we have fiscal year 26, 10,000, is that correct?
No, they requested 10,000, right now there's no local donations.
Okay. All right.
Are you good, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So also, looking at economic development, can you tell me what locals, grant expenses of 15,000 and contracts of 10,000 are for from economic development?
Mallory, would you like to join me at the podium?
Sitting there from ENC Alliance that we didn't get to use because we didn't have enough money to do the project. And if you look back, I don't think any of the 15,000 was used last year for local support.
No, local support, there's no request.
Yeah, that's Main Street. There's nothing in Main Street.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Grant expenses, I think if you look back last year's budget, we didn't use much of that.
So you still need 15,000?
Yeah, if Electric City comes up with a matching grant for 5, it makes sense to.
Okay, so that stays in the budget unless you use it, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the 10,000 for contracts, what's that?
That's based on any contracts we have with the rail park, just in case we have them.
Okay. So, and you decreased from 20,000 to 18,000 on advertising. Where do you advertise as far as the economic?
And again, I don't think we used near that budget this year, but the fact is that we try to get in the Greenville Convention and Visitor Center's book every year if we can, at a reasonable rate. We usually get in the Greenville ENC Alliance advertisement, but this year they're paying for it, and next year they're paying for it.
Okay.
So, I mean, you know,
Well,
that's.
so is that something, do we see numbers there that could possibly be reduced in the budget, is what I'm asking. If we're not, I mean, I don't want to be in a use it, lose it type thing, where if you don't spend the money, we take it, the board takes it all away. That's not what I'm looking at. But if you look at the numbers, that's, I mean, you're talking about $43,000, including the advertising, grant expenses, and contracts. That's $43,000.
If you take it all away, you grant.
Not all of
you
it,
know.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, let's be more realistic. If we're not using that, let's reduce the request, and then the next year, if you need more, you request more.
Well, one thing that I was told 2 years ago that we needed to do was do a little more advertising. Some of that advertising is taken out of different budgets now. So, I mean, you know, it's kind of up to you guys, but
Okay.
I think if we come with an instance where we need to do some serious advertising, we probably ought to have some funds available.
And how much did you, I mean, since you're standing there, you used 5,000 in the budget last year for travel and 6,000 requested for 26.
And some of that came from Main Street. I used some of my travel money from Main Street because we didn't have enough in that budget. But yeah, and I didn't use all that either, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever used all of my budget allotment.
Right. Well, see, we don't know that. All we see is the numbers. We don't know what you used and what you didn't use. So that's the
We
reason I
can
question.
produce that, I just can't do it right now.
No,
I can tell you.
You understand what I'm saying?
I
I'm saying
agree.
if you budget $20,000 for something and you only use 2,000, we don't know that. We know that the budget's requesting 20,000 for it. So I'm assuming that you spent $20,000 on that
Well,
line item.
all right.
But I understand what you're saying, sir. Thank you, and I appreciate that, Mallory. On the library, 13,400 for contracts for the library. What's that for?
Ms. Rochelle?
That is for like the ongoing software for our ebooks and audiobooks. It is for our free online tutoring for all the students. It's for the adult continuing education classes that we offer. It is for the language learning program online that we offer.
And what is the grant appropriation?
I get $5,000, every year I apply for a grant with Pitt County for $5,000, and I usually get that. And that's used.
Because it looks like it's an expense, not a
It
revenue.
is not an expense. It is revenue that comes in, and then I spend it.
But we code it to the expense because usually there's an expense associated with that. So if you look at the general fund, the past few years, you would see miscellaneous or grant revenue at like $100,000. Truthfully, it really wasn't a grant because it's coming in and paying for an expense, so it's coming in and out. So but with Tyler, we code it straight to that expense, so we're not inflating the revenue.
No? Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Thank you.
Good,
Yeah,
real quick.
for now, yeah.
Can I say two things? The retreat, we did put $1,000 into the governing board's budget, along with the voting. The voting's around $11,000 we were quoted. That was added. And I did leave off, I want to make sure we understood, so thanks, Coach, for reminding me. There is a 3% COLA in this budget that is in the draft budget. I should have had it on a slide, but it's been a very hectic day, so my apologies.
That's 3% across the board.
Except for the town manager. That was not budgeted, sorry, Scott.
So you expect us to have the budget finalized pretty much, not tonight, but pretty much.
Very close.
At the next meeting?
Yeah, it needs to be public hearing at the next meeting and voted on.
And that'll give us time to get it in on time.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, so
Yes,
if
yes, ma'am.
if it'll be a public hearing at that time, the garbage can be discussed and people want to.
Get that, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah, they can talk about it if they want to.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you allocate for Main Street in the budget?
I did not mean that. But if you do decide on a position for $50,000, just rough numbers, it will cost the town approximately $80,000 between benefits, retirement, and so you're looking at an $80,000 cost for a $50,000 position.
Question for you. Do we have someone that handles all of our social media?
Jeremy.
Is that something we could also get the full-time position for Main Street to be involved in as well? Because wouldn't that kind of go hand in hand?
We just have to be real careful about that. There's a lot of rules with us, and like, we can't endorse one business over the other. We got to be super, super careful to be fair with that. And I think that's something we want to definitely keep in-house. And Jeremy, I'd love your input, because he just got back from clerk school, maybe they talked about that.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you could take two different paths with it. You definitely got to be very careful on what you put out there. The biggest risk is allowing somebody to say something and then trying to squash that and having any content restrictions on what people say if we allow comments. If you were to try to move that responsibility under the Main Street person, you just need to make sure you hired somebody who had experience dealing with that. It's not impossible, but you definitely got to make sure it's not just the Main Street focus. It's also the social media, the communication focus.
So it'd be better to keep it separate because of liability.
I would. That would be my recommendation.
I just want to bring your attention to the fees. At the last board meeting, after hearing Alicia, who recommended a 4% increase for water and sewer, you have those fees highlighted in blue in front of you. I'm going to be very honest with you. I have not been able to generate what it will actually bring in. Stephen and I were looking at her slides and trying to work with her to make sure we understood. I did not want to give you the wrong projections for water and sewer. Water and sewer, the only other fee increase is the subdivision installment fee for electric, which is $2,500 we're requesting instead of $2,200 per unit. And we're also asking for the board to approve the the pilot program for the electric.
Now, what's involved in the pilot program? Help me.
So basically, you all have put in the structure, the AMI meters, right? So those meters, so when you pull electric at the peak rates, the town is paying peak price. So we want to make sure moving forward that when we have these peak rates, we want to be able, they've done the study using our data, and they're able to tell, and I can't, I'm really at a high level skating this because Vandermoss can tell you more about it. But in the sense of if you use more electric in the peak times, there is a higher peak rate. If you do not, there is a off-peak rate. So for example, if you were going to run your dishwasher, run your wash machine, and if you did it after 7 p.m., you would be paying less in electric. But if you're someone that is blow dryers or running all your electric from 1 to 7, you'll be paying a higher cost. It probably won't benefit everybody, but it can benefit some people. So we want to, we've heard people, complain about the rates. This is just something that we want to test to see if it would benefit some of our
And this is electric only right now?
That is electric only. The city of Fayetteville is required, all of their citizens, to be on time of use.
So all our meters are up to date with the system? So
98% of them
So will they be up and installed by the time we go in this program if we choose to do so?
No, there's a handful of meters on our system that will remain the old style meters simply due to the cost involved. They're a specialty meter and you can't just buy one of them. They want you to buy a dozen of them. And some of our primary meters, but all the residential is changed out to AMI meters.
So that would just be commercial is different, but all residential is on?
Correct. What time of use, correct me if I'm wrong, Marshall, wouldn't be for commercial. It would be mainly residential in the pilot program.
It would be mainly residential. We would like to have a commercial volunteer to see if it would benefit them, but we do have a couple of commercial businesses that are interested in. We have actually had not a lot, but some actually people interested in signing up. But I feel like it's an option to offer. We may get to the end of this pilot program and say it's too much, but right now, you've paid for the structure. We got a grant to offset the cost of studying it. I know that Brunswick Electric Membership Corp offers it to their citizens. Fayetteville, it's required for anybody in Fayetteville.
Okay, thanks, Marshall.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Excuse me, y'all. But, Ms. Hall,
Yes, sir.
in our newsletter, we have some pretty good tidbits from time to time. I would suggest that we, keep our foot on the gas as far as that goes.
Okay.
And try to, figure out more ways to, get the cost-saving measures where there be cost-saving measures, get that info out to the public. Like maybe the gallons, you use so many gallons of water and then it increases. People need to constantly be reminded of things like that. Maybe not every time we do a newsletter, but it's important. And the more that they know, the better they can monitor and conserve and stuff. And I would just suggest to just keep pouring it out there anytime we can. And to be quite frankly with you, we need to figure out a way to communicate to all our citizens. I'm not talking about you, but all of us collectively, a way to communicate to all of our citizens, because we have senior citizens, we have young kids that don't pay attention to certain things. They may be, just trying to figure out some ways to get that word out there to them, because they're with their parents, they use electricity, water, and all that stuff. Just try to make Ayden better by knowledge, by things we know, that then we can act on those things. But we don't know, we can't act on them. Are there any other questions, comments, Mr. Manager, for?
Something y'all may want to consider is some towns do this, and Marcia has talked about it. I don't know if she's talked about it with y'all, but some towns have in y'all's travel and training budget. They have individual, like you have this much, you have this much, and that's kind of yours. And at the end of the year, if you're not going to use it, of course, somebody else can borrow.
Yeah.
But if that's something y'all want to do, just kind of tell Marcia, it's not a big deal. I don't even know if it'd be a vote, but she could do that, and it might help everybody with their planning and what meetings they want to go to.
But that's a good comment, Mr. Manager, first of all. Y'all excuse me for tonight, struggling here from time to time. But on the same note that you're on, I kind of got heartbroken from some of the other managers across the state because I've been to a few of the mayoral meetings across the state, and a lot of those guys, they like get a leg up on us because they travel and they exchange information, and that, believe it or not, that's important, not just for the mayor, but for the board as well. So we need to be, we need to have what we need. We need those tools. We need to get in those spaces where things are happening that we wouldn't know about if we didn't go. So please do consider that when putting this budget together. And I do know, and everyone else up here know, putting together the budget is one of the hardest things to do. So we're putting things out to you, you know, to let you know what we feel and what we get. Because I got embarrassed the other year. The mayors, they were in another state, and they met some very influential people with the that do granting processes and how to get things done. And they come back and telling me stuff, and I'm like, well, I didn't get a chance to go. We have enough money in our budget. I don't like that, you know. So
At least your hotel went under construction.
I'll leave that one right there, Commissioner Newell. Yeah, you know, but we need to get engaged. We got a lot going on. We're poised for growth. And without knowledge, man, somebody else will get, like someone said tonight, I think, if we don't get it, somebody else will.
There's 7,000 budgeted right now for all of your travel for the board. So if there needs to be more, I'll just need to. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Anything else for Ms. Hall? Mrs. Hall?
I did a typical, if I did my utility bill correct with the increase with the bill that I have now, it would be $10.88. I don't know if I calculated it right.
For the water and sewer.
I did everything. I did the electric, the water, the sewer, stormwater.
So it's just the water and
It would
sewer.
just be the water and
It's just the
sewer.
water and sewer. Okay, so the electric not going up. That's
As of
fine.
this moment, we're just gonna
Okay.
watch any
So
type
that
of
would- that
increase.
would- So it would not increase that much, that's why I got the information on it. Okay, so it would go up, probably $5. I'm just trying to get a feel of what the,
Plus the stormwater fee, up
a dollar, I got that. I just wanted to see what a utility bill would look like with the increase. Okay.
What's your total bill? You ain't got to say.
It wasn't that high. Actually, I had overpaid, I paid $25 too much. I don't know how I did that.
Okay.
Because you're a good commissioner.
Commissioner Dodd, if you would.
So with the fee schedule and then about the pilot program, are you needing, a motion from the board to, to approve both of these?
Is it already in the budget?
You talking about the fee schedule?
Yeah, whatever.
So-
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you mentioned the time of use too, right?
Yes, the pilot time.
That's a grant, right?
I'm sorry.
The electric, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
The
they were-
electric time of use, we got a grant for that.
We got a grant for it. It was a
So that
small
won't be
cost.
more, yeah.
Yeah, that shouldn't cost any more. We just need to study to make sure the system can handle it and, if it's something the town wants to move to. But Electric City supported us with a grant for that. We applied for a system betterment grant.
So you need a decision from the board to
Do the pilot.
To go forward.
Yes, ma'am, for the
Okay,
pilot
so
program.
I will make a motion that we go forward with the pilot program for the time of use study.
Can I question that? Yeah, and the time of use, I mean, because I was there for both of the repeats
sir.
and everything. So based on the peak times, this is just for learning only. No one's going to be charged that extra money during the pilot program. Or are they going to be charged the rate during the
It is
program?
my understanding they would be charged that rate only because you got to test out the Tyler system to make sure your modules meters are sending the signal, make sure that it can bill. We were expecting maybe, if we got 25 people interested, that's a win.
So how are the people selected?
Volunteer.
Volunteer? Okay. Okay, thank you.
And like I said, it may not work for everybody. If you're at home, washing dishes and cooking and all that, but, it's something that it will hopefully keep the citizens like, oh yeah, this is peak time. The less they burn at those peak times will cost less for the town too.
And we have any ideas, we said 2 or 3 years pilot probably, or that's what the gentleman had mentioned?
I think he said at least a year, 2 years, and
Right.
then, it takes a while. If it's something we want to do, you'd have to market it pretty
Right.
clearly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're
second.
welcome.
Motion made by Commissioner Goff, second by Mayor Pro Tem Langley. Any discussion?
I think I have one, is that, one of the large complaints of our citizens is our utilities. So if we can set up a program to where we as a citizen can control our utility cost by the times that we use those utilities, I think it would be beneficial for the citizens and the town, because we are making a decision as to how to lower our costs instead of having an across-the-board rate. Am I correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this, Ms. Hall. As far as the peak times that electricities will have for us, are the peak times that we're gonna have for our citizens consistent with their peak times? Or do they just have at one peak time and we kind of set our peak time based on, they're gonna be identical?
They set based off of the time of the year, so there'll be two.
Right.
So that's based off of the data from your AMI system that you've got in place that they've studied, and based off of what the peak will be from Duke. So they've got all this historic data, and they have basically, I think it's 1 to 7 p.m. At one part of the year.
The peak is a different time each day.
Yes.
There's a window that you try to stay in to miss that peak.
I get that. I get that. Thank you for that. But what I'm asking, electricities are not giving us a peak time, and we in turn giving our citizens a peak time different than what electricity is.
Oh no, they're going to tell us what the peak time.
We get an email from electricities every day.
As long as they're lining up.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we would have to rely on them to help us with the peak time and but the times are set based off the historic data.
All right. You have any questions, more questions for us?
I don't think so.
I have one for you.
Okay.
Are you sure you don't have any more for us?
I don't, at this moment, I don't.
Okay. I have one for you regarding
Okay.
the coal trains and not the coal trains, but.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I didn't finish it. I know.
Yep.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. So we don't have any more discussion. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All in favor this time, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, you know what they came up and requested tonight. How do you view that? How do we stand as far as our finances in support of what they're doing? What's your suggestion, being you the finance officer? How do you see this thing?
God, y'all. To fund a full-time position,
Yes, ma'am.
if you're asking me personally as the finance director, I think that would not be financially sound at this moment.
Okay.
Only because we're trying to get the general fund, I mean, we've got to do this for the LGC for our audit. Next year, once there's a path in place for, I just feel like sometimes this whole Main Street, it's messy. Not the fact that it's people, but to me, it's not clear on the path that is needed. Like, I know we want businesses. I know that we need businesses, I know that we need to support businesses, but to pay someone $50,000 plus benefits, 70,000 plus, you're looking at $80,000. You know, we've cut so much over here to get the general fund. I think you need to take this time, punt, figure out what you really want, where you want to be, goals, maybe hire a part-time grant writer to see if the grants are out there. But to do a full-time position, I think it'd be ill-advised for the board. I know that's not popular, but I'm sorry.
So if to hire a part-time grant writer, you have any idea what kind of numbers we would have to give them?
My experience with grants is that typically if they are a successful grant writer, that they should be able to pay for themselves. That there's enough overhead built into a grant that they should, and if they don't, they're not very successful.
Okay, gotcha. Do we have any questions for Mrs. Hall recommendations?
I do. Just looking at, I'm just picking one thing, I'm just picking out one thing that's in the budget. I saw an increase of roughly 25% in fuel costs from the garage, from $100,000 a year to $125,000 a year. We're talking about cutting, and what we're talking about is cutting and keeping the budget. Well, you've done a fine job doing this without taking money to balance the general fund, and I appreciate that. But when we have talked about things and talked about growth in this town, bringing vision to this town, there's a lot of things going on to really strengthen and really advertise our town and say, come to Ayden, that's where it's the place to be. So, but we're increasing in so many other areas. You've done a great job on the budget, but I would to say that we're so $80,000 is going to put us like, well, we just can't budget it. We have got so much expenses here, and why was there such a 25% increase in gas and diesel? 100,000 to 125,000.
It fluctuates.
Hold up. Let's stay on point. I
Okay.
respect what you're saying, Mayor Pro Tem, and I respect what you're saying, Ms. Hall. But let's stay on point. Let's try to get this clear, bring some clarity
Okay.
to where we are and what you recommended and how we feel about what you recommended, okay?
Okay.
Would you like to make a comment?
Yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
as of now, the director position is split between two employees within the town. So for 20 hours for Mr. Dunham, 20 hours for Mr. Smith. And so they co-direct the Main Street program. There's all, go ahead.
You can finish.
Well, I just want to, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. And I believe there's a solution to get us to the goal of a full-time director and paid, whether it's through a nonprofit, whether it's through the town. We can't rip the Band-Aid. It has to be strategic and in the best interest of all parties involved. From the town's perspective, if we add on the nonprofit arm, it's got to be from that perspective. So my question, Marcia, to you is, within the budget, is there room for allocations? Is there room for staff? And this is maybe a question to you. Is there room for another agreement that allows us to satisfy our full-time need of a director per Main Street, but get us on the plan to where we're starting to focus on this program and focus for what it's intended to be?
Okay, so I need to understand, when you mean full-time, are you meaning, so like right now, they allocate a percent of their salary to this. So when you do a grant report, we're not paying him $20,000 out of Main Street budget. He's saying 20% of his overall salary is being credited. So I need to understand what your vision is here, because I'm just hearing, like, I need to know numbers. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No,
or
and I
ugly.
don't take it that way because I don't understand from the town's perspective where you're allowed to allocate for these positions and allocate for, say, okay, part of his job is dedicated as the director, part of his job is dedicated as the director.
Would you like to?
Yeah.
You might.
Okay, just for a little clarification on how that's done internally. That's on paper, period. So when we submit to Main Street, we're showing them that we are working the equivalent of a full-time Main Street director. I do 0 for Main Street now. In the past, I ran Main Street previously. Right now, on paper, I'm responsible for 20 hours a week. On paper, just so we can sustain and stay in that program. But I do, outside of consulting, if Mallory has a question, I contribute nothing in my daily routine outside of showing those 20 hours on paper. Solely because that's a requirement. They've allowed us to do that because of the past success. They were the ones that encouraged us. We used to be small town Main Street forever. They were the ones who encouraged us to enter the Main Street program, in my opinion, before we were actually ready. But they saw, they wanted us to get in there, so they did, so they've worked with us. But that 20 hours and 20 hours, that's on paper only. I work at 0. But when we submit our annual budget, those numbers on paper meet those requirements. I think what Marsh, to sustain a Main Street program, you need a full-time person. There's so much that goes on. You need somebody to manage that full-time for you. And again, there's a cost associated with that. I think with all the, I'll say, turmoil in our current program, you're going to have a singular person if you want to sustain that program to come in and manage it, 40 hours a week, day to day, as their job. Just my opinion. So, and again, the cost, and that's what we've been talking about budgets. We talk about, we're sitting at 0 right now, which is great. I think we just need direction from you guys on how we want to move forward, so we know what number to try and plug in. Because like Marcia said, you're looking at salary, benefits, you're in the 80s. Then you got expenses, required expenses. Managers required to do regional meetings, required to do the directors meeting, which this year is in Boone. So you can imagine the travel costs. You got to pack up, go across the state for a few days, so you've got meals, travel. Yeah, they cover your registration, but everything else is on you. So, there's all those costs, plus the operational costs that you may need to do promotions, to chase grants, to do events. There's a lot more to it than just, and that's the direction we're trying to figure out from you guys is which way do we need to go so we can plug that number in the budget and figure out what we've got to do to cover the cost. Steve,
Go ahead.
I was just for clarification, is it in your or Mallory's job description to have to run Main Street?
It is not in mine. I'm not sure if it's in
y'all
the.
get paid anything
No.
to do that in the past? I believe it was sold to y'all by previous managers. Just do this for me for X amount of months till we find somebody.
Yeah, I think when I originally started, that position was community and economic development planner, so it was all combined, and I think it was in that job description. But as time's gone by and those job descriptions have changed, I'm not sure where it falls right now.
So the big question still remains, how are we gonna get the money if we were to do what they're suggesting? Go ahead, Ms. Hall.
She just asked if we could contract similar to what has been in place with the chamber. That could be a possibility, but when you put a position in place, salary and fringe, you're looking at additional almost 30% on top of that annual salary. So that could be something that once it got established, you moving forward, successful, year 2, year 3, year 4, you can increase that contract amount. Therefore, you're not abandoning it. It's not, you can report that that contract employee could report to the town manager or who else and be a liaison between the two. But to come up with $80,000 at this point in this fiscal year budget, I would ask that you would possibly think of another possible solution like a contract.
I believe we could work with a contract.
Meaning,
Contract hire the director on a contract basis, meaning you don't pay taxes and insurance and things.
It's like a 1099.
Like a 1099 employee. If we do that, and it can be done with the nonprofit extension to do the quasi-public-private and hire as a contract base to oversee the program. They have memorandums of understanding and everything written for the agreement on how the town and the nonprofit would work together.
And you could start with a part-time position, I don't know, 10, 15,000 is a lot easier to absorb than 80. Since we're trying to get the general fund looking better for our audits.
why don't we do what, not just I, but I've heard other people suggest it all along. Why don't we take the ideas, unless the board opposes, it's all about working together. coming together with what you have, hold on one second if you would, I got you. I respect that. But just coming together, sitting down, respectfully, talking things out, you might be surprised what we can do together, that's what it's all about.
'Cause
Miss, go ahead.
I just, I know that Rochelle really needs that part-time person. I
Okay.
know that the fire department has critical equipment needs. The general fund does not have a lot of options, and this position would have to come from the general fund with, probably some support from reimbursable services from.
I'll add this
enterprise.
position can also assist the library and can assist Arts and Rec with different programs and opportunities available and act as their liaison to help them achieve these other programs.
What I suggest
Okay.
is that if you guys want to talk this thing out and bring us something, bring the board something, unless y'all opposed to this, the next time we meet, because clearly you both have good, and I clearly understand what you're saying. We can't afford it, but they're saying that maybe we can if we took this out. Talk it out on your own, and Ms. Stone, if you would.
Sorry, just he brought up a good point, and HR wise. So I think a couple things we need to know for sure is one, does it have to be an employee of the town? One.
I do not
If it
believe that it is
doesn't,
not.
then you can do the contract, because the contract is a good idea, but if a contracted worker is not an employee. So if it has to be an employee, then that won't work. If it doesn't, then we can work some stuff out.
Something to add to that is, and we have to do a report every year. I used to have to do it. I assume you have to do it.
Renisha.
And there's maybe a legal question about, are we, in effect, if we donate the money to fund the person, okay, the state asks 2 questions every year to see if you're contracted help or if you're not contracted help, and then therefore we have to pay you benefits. Do we tell you what to do, and do we tell you how to do it? And if you don't, and if y'all are choosing that for control, then we're gonna end up paying them benefits and all that. There's no way around it. So really, I don't know if the contract thing would work or not, because we can call people subcontractors, but the Division of Labor is super hard on it, and they hit you with questions. And if you're telling them how to do something or telling them what to do, you're done. We can call them whatever, we owe them. And that's just the fact.
Actually, that's not, I know it is, I'm sorry. That is not actually, 1099s are be at a location and how long you're gonna be at the location. You're establishing the time for contract. 1099 employees, you can't require to be at a certain place at a certain time. You can tell them what to do, but you cannot have a time requirement.
You can get them a contract to follow that.
Sir?
The contract to follow what they're doing.
Right.
Okay, what I'm saying to everyone is that we could go on and on and on, and on. Y'all know that we can. Why don't you guys just take that extra step, just come together and talk this thing out and come up with a solution? We're disrespecting everybody's time, our time up here, and go ahead.
Marsha, do you think that we can come to an agreement to do a nonprofit extension and find a solution for a director?
I would, honestly, I would like to ask the league to give us an example of where it's successful in the town and give us a path so that we can have, just, because I don't want to get in any trouble, so I'm happy to work through it. I just don't know all the ins and outs of the program to be able to commit. I like the contractor idea, but if it has to be a town employee, which worries me a little bit.
Contractor would be a town employee.
I don't believe it has to be.
But to be Main Street,
Nobody knows that's the problem.
so we need to do a little bit more research. To be honest, I'm happy to work through anything. I just.
Well, Marsha, can you and Sarah get together and hammer this thing out?
Can we meet with our Main Street?
I'm happy to meet with anybody. I've got an open door. You just have to step over but yeah, that's fine. And maybe invite Tony, and just get some, yeah. So, yeah, I'm happy to.
Y'all can do that. See?
Yeah,
Let's do that.
I'm happy to work with whatever. I just didn't know I'd be prepared, to talk about it, because I don't really know the ins and outs of it. I got so many fires.
Well, let's do that unless the board opposes. And yeah, you think it's a good idea?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's working together, stuff works. But you gotta respect each one's opinion. Let's do that, bring us something back.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely.
Boom.
All right. I got something for you. A legacy tree a legacy tree fund grant request for proposals. It's $5,000. It's a reimbursable grant. The deadline is June the 15th. It looks like we have to match it, but we can match it with the time that if the streets crew puts in the. So there's a lot of details, and I don't know enough about trees
So
to do this.
Okay,
So
well then I need to see the plans and the layout, and there is no plan, there's no layout.
this was passed on to me, and I feel like it's doable as far as reimbursable, but I don't know enough about a tree plan. I mean, I'm barely cutting my grass at home.
Yeah.
I'm happy to help do the recording, but we'll get reimbursed, but.
I was gonna ask Mallory about this one, all of the forestry grant that come out, it was 500, went to 300. I know they agreed to put the application out again for us to apply, and I guess we're in the process for that, Mallory.
We're moving along, we just need a little direction in the plan.
Okay.
You know, the big grant takes a lot of planning, and I'm sorry, let me stand up. So I spoke with Mideast, they're willing to help us on it.
Okay.
You know, it is no money up front on the grant, so it's all pretty good there. But we will have to pay them some fees in processing the grant, getting the plan together. They have to hire an arborist. We cannot do it, unfortunately. So.
I got an arborist lined up.
Well, they have one too. We just need direction from the board if they want me to proceed with this at that cost.
What you think, Commissioner?
We need to go with it, because in this grant, there's never been a forestry grant before where they will actually let you take down hazardous trees.
Okay.
Second Street and Third Street, we have trees, and we get in a back and forth with a certain agency where the town can't afford it, they can't afford it. This grant will actually allow us to take these trees down. They will also allow us to come back, we come up with a plan to go down Third Street, our main corridor, and replace these trees. I would like to see a native tree, a North Carolina native tree. It will also help us if we want to do sidewalk reconstruction. Not a lot of money there, $300,000. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. But you have to do something that recognizes the Forestry Service for this grant.
Yeah.
I was thinking of going one of our parks or a park and doing a tree canopy, because there's a big push for tree canopies in urban environments where we leave trees that age out. So we're taking down trees, we'll put in these trees. And then on Arbor Day, I'd like to put up a plaque where each school year or class would come out and actually plant a tree in that area and put a plaque up, and that would give recognition back to the Forestry Service.
So you want to make a recommendations on
Well, wait a minute, before, so what we need in the recommendations, go ahead and also give him permission to sign the contract for $7,500 to Mideast.
Okay.
You know, we could probably take it out, part of it out of my budget this year because I haven't spent it, and that's fine. She's liable to hit me for that. But
Spending has been cut off.
So, you know, and what you're saying is all fine and dandy, and we'll walk through it. We still need planning between you and I.
And that's, we need to get on.
on that.
I know they had put the application in, and I hadn't heard where the application
No,
was.
they're ready to go, like I say.
Okay.
They put the initial in, then we have to put the final in. And we just need a plan so that they can go forward, and they'll have everything in order with the
So
arborist.
basically, we need an architect to put a plan together for us where it's.
Probably so.
Okay, not a problem.
Or using one of their architects.
Okay.
Patrick seems to think he can do it. I mean, he can get
Okay,
it all
that's
done.
fine. I'd like to sit in on it and see what his plan is.
That's
And
fine.
I also got some other previous plans and some plans I've done in other municipalities. We can line up with that.
Yeah.
And
But you know, we only have a certain amount of years to expend that 300,000, so.
the last, when it first initially came out, I think it was what, within 5? I thought it was, initially I thought it was in 2. You had to have
You may be right. I thought it was
I think
5.
you had to have like a proposal of the plan, then you have an action to move the old trees, and then the last part of it, because our bud season usually runs in December, the planting of the trees in December to close out the actual grant.
You may be right about that. I'm not
I haven't
exactly
looked at
sure.
it in a while, so,
And I haven't either, other than
Right.
my discussion with Patrick at meetings.
well, we need to get together on that.
Now, on that $500 grant, or that $5,000 grant she mentioned, we talked about that. It's not a big deal to do. We just need a plan and permission to proceed. I mean,
Okay,
I don't know what we're gonna do.
I'll read through it.
To give you all an example, in Little Washington, they spent $2 million on not quite a block on their streetscape. So, and that was money out of their own pocket. They didn't use grants or anything. We can't do that. So streetscape's kind of, but this 5,000 is not going to get very far
No,
to do much of anything. And we can do it all in kind. In other words, we get 5,000, and basically unfortunately, it falls in Stephen's department where his guys will have to do it and plant the trees or do whatever. But
so it's got to be, so town resources would do the planning in-house.
yeah,
And mulch, we would pay it up
mulch and all
front
that.
and then get reimbursed.
I don't mind assisting, I'll go out there with them and help them.
Well, I don't know.
It just needs to start before September 1st, if I
Yeah, that's
remember
what I was
correctly.
saying. So what we need to do is come up with a plan, and here, yeah, I say where it says it has to be a native species tree.
What area are we talking about planting trees back in? Are these the ones that are the power lines
I
are
don't-
running through?
No, we're not gonna, no, I have no idea. This is just handed to me, so that's something I got to read over. We got to see what locations in town and where we can,
And again, that's why we need a plan. And
I promise you, I won't put them on the power line.
Yeah, we got power lines running through a lot of them right now.
That's the initial 300,000
That's
grant I
what
was
the big
talking
one's
about. That's what that grant's gonna do. It's gonna get those trees out of your way. That's the first grant that's ever been done by the Forestry Service that would actually take down trees. You're welcome.
All right,
And not planting any back in that
No.
particular area.
No.
so what's the pleasure of the board? Anyone want to make a motion on, what Mr. Denham put forth, his recommendation?
I'll make a motion to do that. Yes, I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Goff, second by Commissioner Connor, to go along with Mr. Denham's recommendation. Any discussion, further discussion on that? All in favor?
can we clarify, make sure that's both grants?
Sir?
Make sure that motion includes both.
Both grants.
Okay, you got that?
I need to clarify the language, just make sure I get it right.
Okay,
Uh,
give it to him again, Mr.
To
Denham.
apply for the NC Forestry grant and also the $5,000 tree grant, legacy grant, which won't cost the town anything to do it on that particular grant, but to give him permission to sign the agreement with Mideast to go forward on the big grant.
You good? Okay. All right.
We just need a vote on it, sir.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 5-0, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have anything else for us?
I do one
Uh-oh.
thing.
What's
I'm
that?
good.
Tomorrow's the grand opening of Eagle Rock Concrete.
Yes, sir.
I hope all of you all can attend.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I can't make it.
I didn't get an RSVP, but I can get that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I
So,
wish I
will
could.
do
Well,
that.
it'll be a good day for,
10 o'clock, right?
now 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, yes, sir.
And all you have to do is just welcome everybody to Ayden, because there's 2 or 3 other speakers that are gonna pat themselves on the back.
Yeah.
If I can swing by there, I will. It just
Please
depends.
come.
All
There's some
right,
important people that'd be good for you all to meet.
okay.
At that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Denham, and I thank this board. It's amazing what we can do as a board, as far as working together once we decide to work together, because working together works. Comments from Commissioner Goff?
No comment.
Comments from Commissioner Davis? Comments from Commissioner Newell?
Appreciate y'all putting up with us, town staff, public, we're working through it. Thank you.
Comments from,
And a special shout out to Marsha for working on the budget. I know everybody else helped, but I know it was a job, and I probably worried her asking questions, but we appreciate it.
comments from Mayor Pro Tem?
No comment.
No comments from Mayor Pro Tem, no comments from myself, David. But, hey, I love it when a plan comes together, I just do.
We can do it. We're gonna be the leaders of small town North Carolina. Just take a little effort. And, I need a motion now to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion made by, Mayor Pro Tem, the Honorable Reverend Langley, second by the Honorable Coach Johnny Davis. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Motion is adjourned.